Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Screen Scene Guru, and today I'll be discussing Alien Earth Episode 6, The Fly. Really intriguing episode, guys, for all of us currently watching on Disney+. This is a fascinating show that dropped this year, one of the most highly anticipated, and it is getting big streaming numbers, so I did want to do a video on it. Going into the description, I've got IMDb pulled up. Tensions rise as a powerful enemy confronts each other, a dangerous plan unfolds, and curiosity leads to deadly consequences. So very interesting stuff here. This just came out on last Tuesday, September the 9th. They drop on Tuesdays, which is interesting. Time slate, they want it to be like cable, but for streaming. I'm glad they're dropping them week by week because it gives us something to go into and review. So this was the Fly episode. This was where Kirsch and Boy Cavalier flew to the mainland to talk to Weyland-Yutani about reacquiring the creatures. And then we saw one of the children have to feed the creatures in the experiment room. Things lead to tragedy with one of the synthetic children hybrids now has been taken out of commission. And I don't believe they're going to be able to download him into another body because his head was melted. Spoiler alert, guys, for those of you who've seen the episode. But we also got to see some more backstory with Wendy and the therapist. Her discussing after they took away the red-haired girl's memories, the other hybrid. Now Wendy is starting to realize that this place might not be the best for her. So that's very fascinating. They're both planning, Wendy and her brother, on a way to get out of there. Boy Cavalier, of course, just wants to study the creatures so he can profit off them before Weyland-Yutani has a chance to repossess them. There's a bit of a side story going on with the cyborg and one of the children. He's got his family, I guess, held hostage, and now he's plotting to carry out the other scientist, the doctor. His body has now been infected with one of the facehuggers, so of course they're going to carry him off-site and try to get him to Weyland-Yutani so they can have their own proto-xenomorph. These competing companies and factions, very interesting stuff here. But yeah, I really like the episode. A lot of people are wondering what's going on with Timothy Oliphant's character, Kirsch. And I believe that he's just plotting to get rid of all the humans so the robots can take over, which is a very interesting plot, very much like Michael Fassbender's David. I felt like the very similar connections there, and with the original synthetics from the original movie Ash. So that's cool. But moving on from this newest episode of Alien Earth, we've also got some movie news to discuss. Bit of a script written out here. So let's go back just the last few days and to see what the stories have been breaking. We've got Henry Cavill was recently injured on set of Highlander, which is going to push the movie back by 3 months. So that's very interesting news to hear after we just got our teaser for the new Witcher season with Liam Hemsworth on the internet. Just broke along with set photos. It looks like Temu Witcher. A lot of people have commented online, what is this? Netflix having to pivot from Henry Cavill to Liam, using the same costume and wigs, everything. But a lot of people have actually discussed their dislike for it on the internet. I'm still going to check it out. It's coming out at the end of October on Netflix, so it's just going to be another one of those shows that you got to cover. But very interesting news there with Henry Cavill. It didn't sound like a major injury. It was just something that it's going to delay the movie in post-production by 3 months, which is going to change the release date. So that's fascinating. Netflix is working on a bioshock movie. We've heard more news about this. This is coming out next year in 2026 and is going to be a film about the first game of bioshock. So that's very interesting to hear about that. We know several studios are going to be competing with video game IP, so that's very interesting news. Moving on, we've got the challenge of Paramount buying Warner Brothers is creative control over IPs deciding where the work goes. So a lot of people have discussed this over the last couple of weeks. Well, it's just been a week really since the news broke about Paramount putting in a cash bid to buy Warner Brothers, and now all the trades, all the different media news outlets are talking about where work will be coming from and how the field will be more conservative and towards this new genre of content being made. That's very interesting. We're talking about some movie news. Demonslayer came out recently, the movie, and it opened to $35 million, which blew out Conjuring 4, Last Rites, which I still need to do a video on. Probably going to be doing that very soon. But very interesting to see that Demon Slayer, it's being played internationally because it comes from Japan, and it's just really slaying the world over, which is really good news to hear because, Demon Slayer, it's an anime that's been on for 10 years, and they're building up to a trilogy where this first film's coming out this year. They've got another film coming out in 2027, and then a third film in 2029. So they're going to be going up against Avatar films, it seems like. Not quite with the release dates, but the release years, which is very interesting. It shows they're very confident in their franchise. Going on, we did hear that Foundation, with Season 3 just wrapping up on Apple. I highly recommend, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, go check it out and watch it. It's Asimov's sci-fi tales from the 70s and 80s. Several of his short story was also adapted for the Season 3 finale, like Buying Jupiter and Tears from a Robot. So that's very interesting that his short novels were adapted for the Season 3 ending. But they have been renewed for Season 4 that is coming out in 2026. So very interesting news there. I mentioned Netflix is rebooting Witcher. Well, kind of a reboot. It's going to be a Season 4. But, yeah, very interesting. Because I believe the last season got broken up to 2 parts, didn't it? I think so. But, going on, Tom DeLonge discussed disclosure things, which was very interesting, and a recent YouTube blogger re-going over Joe Rogan's podcast with him from 2016, 2017. And he talked about how life on other planets will be discovered, and it will be talked about. Life on exoplanets will be discovered. Then he goes into structures will be found that aren't natural. They're going to be, worked over by some kind of intelligence. He said that pyramids and obelisks will be found on Mars and on the moon. And then by 2027, they're going to confirm that other life forms, other beings exist in the galaxy and the universe, and that they coincide on Earth with us. So that's very interesting news to hear from an old podcast from years ago. They're re-going over the files, and with Pat Duffy, the head of NASA, now confirming life on Mars with a rock they discovered in a riverbed. That's very interesting news. And with, of course, these UAP hearings happening, it's very fascinating. For those of you that like this ufology news to cover, a lot of traction in the last week. But going on from that, we've got Warner Brothers Discovery is already planning out its slate for 2026, which is sounding very interesting. They've got several projects coming down the line, like Game of Thrones projects. They've got the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which is going to be a mini-series, but I heard that if it does well, it may get renewed. So that's interesting. We've also got House of the Dragon coming out, Season 3, which is going to be late 2026. So that sounds very interesting as well. But going on, hearing some more about this Paramount Discovery, Skydance Paramount, and Warner Brothers Discovery merger. I've got some data pulled up right here on the script. It was confirmed last year that Warner Brothers Discovery's net worth was $41 billion, which sounds like a lot, but their debt is still $35 billion. So even though they've been doing a really good year this year with 7 films to be cracking the $40 billion, or $40 million, should I say, they've still yet to come up out of debt from their previous AT&T partnership. But Larry Ellison, who is in control of Oracle, the data mining company, is now set to buy the company because he put in an all-cash bid deal, and he is the richest man in the world. He's surpassed Elon Musk. He's surpassed Jeff Bezos with $400 billion, and he recently bought Skydance Paramount for his son David. So a lot of people are speculating that these two men of industry are going to be changing IPs like Star Trek, Top Gun, bringing back a lot of franchise IPs, which makes sense to be recouping the money that they believe these franchises should be making. Going on, we've got Warner Brothers doesn't have a television network. There is no broadcast rights to have or to settle with, so the government is going to have to come in and basically sign a contract, similar to what Sherry Redstone was able to negotiate with the Trump administration to buy Skydance Paramount. So that's very interesting that another government contract deal will have to be made in order for Skydance Paramount to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. And Zaslav had previously discussed, the head of Warner Brothers Discovery, a rumor of splitting the company before selling it off in April of 2026. Now that speculation is up in the air. People don't know if that's happening. Going on, we've got the Emmys, but I'm going to make a separate video about that. So that should do it for my movie news for the week. What did you guys think of Alien Earth? Have you been watching? Let me know down in the comments below. You can follow my channel by liking the video, subscribing if you haven't already. I made it all the way to 78. I'm almost at 79 subscribers, so big shout out to everyone supporting the channel. And until next time, guys, have a good one. Bye-bye.